wants to encourage you to think about innovation beyond the earthly realm, to not consider outer space some place that governments send 1 or 2 old astronauts every year, but rather a place that you or I could be going very soon just for fun. Here to challenge you to make space for outer space, please join me in welcoming the founder of Zero to Infinity, Jose Mariano. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hello, everybody. Imagine that you're sitting comfortably on a vehicle, looking at the horizon, and the sky goes from blue to dark blue to black, and stars start to show, and the horizon vents like this into a beautiful curve. And you see that you come from a blue planet below you. And this planet is not the planet that we know. It's a planet that is perfectly connected. There's connectivity everywhere that is perfectly understood. We know, all the risks, all the problems. We can monitor things. We can better predict, agriculture, mining, protect the environment. And this planet is a planet in which our leaders are not in this discussion between globalists and nationalists. Everybody, a lot of people have seen the Earth as a globe, so there is no more discussion. There is no more flat Earth society members. So this is what we're working hard to bring. This world in which access to space is affordable, is common, and the sphere of economic activity of humans goes above the current limit of 20 kilometers. This is me when I was 2 years old, the little boy there. And that's, this can give you an idea of how an entrepreneur here in Europe decides to get into such a thing. Well, my father is an astronomer, and I grew up around rockets, balloons, different space missions. And I got to see that we go to space, and it's very exciting, but we've been doing it the same way all the time. There is almost no innovation. There's this joke that to fly something into space, it needs to have flown before. And this is almost a law, the way we do things. And I've also felt that seeing my father fly things and, getting to meet experts and people that actually build things that flew, that the potential is huge, that there is no other way to provide connectivity. You can't put fiber in the sea. You can't put fiber in all remote places in the jungle. It doesn't work. You need to do it from above. And the only way that we are going to be really aware of our common destiny as humans and a planet would be for us to go outside and see it. Like all the astronauts that I've met, they're transformed. Of course, they knew the planet was round. But once you go up there and you see it, it changes everything. And this is really, really needed in the world. I've only been once to the World Economic Forum. And I can tell you, it would be a much better world if everybody there had gone up there and saw the Earth from up there. And that's what's going to happen, and it's going to happen from Europe. Look at all these rockets. These are the family of rockets that exist, more or less, or are in development. I really like this one, the Ariane 5, because I worked on it for a while. So it's a very successful project, and it's been developed in Europe as a collaboration of countries. But they all look the same. And you know why they all look the same? Because they are actually collateral damage from another program, okay? They are a byproduct of this, of the V2, which was developed here. And we've given up innovating since then. We just copy-paste, and we do these big government programs in which we build the most expensive new rocket and, fund private industry and keep jobs. And, that wasn't invented by copy-pasting. It took some younger than me, German engineers, very passionate about trying new things without any limitations, just trying things and getting with the right solution. Of course, there's this saying about old space and new space. Like old space is traditional rockets and new space, is new solutions. But I think old space is the space sector that was developed to destroy the world, okay? All these rockets that I showed before, These are all ICBMs. These are all intercontinental ballistic missiles adapted in some way. It was designed to destroy the world or to threaten with the destruction of the world. I'm interested in space to save the world. It's different. And you know what? To save the world, it's profitable because it enables services. It creates economic opportunities. It's not a sunk of public money. It's a source of wealth. And that's what attracting investment. You know, there's a graph of the recent investment in what's called the new space economy, and it's booming. But most of the investment is going into the United States, which has some issues, okay? And we need to grow our sector here in Europe and complement the existing traditional old space, which is strategic, it's respectful, that's where I used to work, and create a new space sector that it really brings a space closer to people and enhances economic activities and has a truly exponential growth curve. You know, one day, the whole planet will be connected. One day, when you will go to Google Maps or Google Earth or some other brand maps, you will be able to see how things are on real time or how things were, you know, a few days ago. And you will see the evolution of crops or forest fires or the temperature of the sea. That day is going to come one day. We want to make that day as soon as possible, okay? And you can't just say, oh, in 10 years, in 20 years. No, it doesn't come sooner if you just wait. It comes sooner if you work really hard. And this is what we're trying to do, you know? And the same goes for connectivity, you know. Right now, we're very comfortable with our, you know, fiber or 4Gs in the cities and so on, but there is a real digital divide problem, and it's really uncomfortable to have roaming charges and all that, so we really need to have some solution to provide global connectivity, and it can only happen from space. But how do you send these satellites to space, and how do you take these people, and that's what I want to talk to you about. Look, I tried, you know, I tried to do it through the European Space Agency, which was my first employer. Then, I went to Boeing Company, I worked on the Ariane 5, and I saw that the incentive structure was wrong. In these entities, if you try to do these kinds of things that I described to you, you are a weirdo. You're like an idealist. Oh, this is never going to happen. You don't understand reality. And so I said, well, I have to find an instrument where there is an alignment between what I want to achieve and the financial model. So I found it zero to infinity and got investment from venture capitalists and different, you know, business angels and very smart people that help me on my day-to-day basis to run the company. So zero to infinity, you know, is 0 and 2 in Roman numerals and infinity. And I want you to think it's not called 0 to 32 kilometers or 0 to low Earth orbit. It's called 0 to infinity because the opportunities up there are endless. And there is really not a solution yet to take things up above where airplanes fly. But the solution cannot just be copy-pasting. It depends on what you want to take. And I wanted to talk to you how we want to send satellites, okay? You know, we all carry, I see a lot of satellites on, you know, you have a satellite. We all carry a satellite in our pocket. It's a computer. It's a phone. It's a computer that can talk and has, you know, you just put a solar panel on it and you got a satellite there with your cameras and your radios and your sensor. Well, if the electronics have gone so, you know, have become so miniaturized, how come our rockets have not adapted to them? We keep, you know, sending these giant things in a great ball of fire and everything. Well, as I said before, because this way of sending rockets, you know, sending satellites to space is not good for a nuclear war, but it's perfect for microsatellites and small satellites. So how do we do it? We break the problem in two. It doesn't matter what field of engineering or you know, human activity. Oftentimes, if you have a really hard problem, and you know, believe me, sending a satellite to space is a very hard problem, it helps if you break it in two parts, okay? If you can break it in several parts and you tackle each of the parts, it's easier. So what's the two parts that we're breaking this into? Well, first, get out of the atmosphere, and then gain orbital speed. And what's the most efficient way to get out of the atmosphere? A balloon. You know, instead of fighting gravity and aerodynamic drag, you use the air and the gravity to help you out. And then picking up speed is relatively piece of cake because you don't have the constraints, you're in a different environment, and you don't have to look anymore like a missile. So you see this thing here doesn't look like a missile, you know, because it doesn't have to, and this is a tremendous advantage on the engineering. So we patented this, and I got funding and designed some engines that can be 3D printed and fire these engines and do more CFD analysis, get interns, get the industry. A lot of very experienced people from traditional industry are super excited and asking us to work for free for us or to work a little bit for us in some way because they are bored in their normal day jobs. So we build prototypes very quickly and we fly them. This was a recent launch of our first rocket, launched from a balloon, legally, in Europe. You don't have to go to the US to do this at all. There is absolutely makes no sense to go there. There you go. So this is, of course, a very small rocket. You can call it a toy, but it's real. And that's what's important, to build things and test them and not just do expensive PowerPoints and, analysis and studies, which is what the European Commission and ESA fund right now, and dinners and trips and consortiums. You get a bunch of determined people together and they work until late in the weekends and get it and fly it. That's how progress is done. That's how progress looks like. So it's a very simple thing in the end. We've reduced by 90% the number of parts that you would need because you don't have the most expensive part of the rocket, which is the turbopump. And it has 3 stages. And as you can see, it's different. And, we may fail. Failure is part of life. But we would at least fail in a different way. We won't fail like everybody else, copy-pasting out. Oh, SpaceX is very successful with a rocket. Let's make another rocket like them and try to get funding. No. We are in Europe. This is the cradle of innovation. We've invented more things than anywhere else. All the luxury, very high-end products that are out there have been designed here. A lot of people are telling me, oh, yeah, SpaceX is very innovative. They did 3D printed engines. And I'm like, look, who did the metallurgy? Who understood the powder to make these 3D printed engines? Who developed the printer to make the 3D printed engine? Well, EOS in Germany, Munich. Nobody knows this. Everybody sees the American thing, and nobody sees the actual innovation where the industrial angle, the factory that makes the vehicle, it's what really changes things. It's not so much the flashy thing in the news, But we have to understand that, that we've gotten very much used to since the Second World War to not trust ourselves. So our customers trust us. And another beautiful thing about breaking the problem into 2, first get out of the atmosphere and then pick up speed, is that you can make money already. We have revenues, Revenues are important. Our engineers know what a customer means. So this is a satellite from a customer. We're not yet getting the satellite into orbit, but we're getting it to the edge of space with a balloon so they can test it and mature the satellite so that when they finally fly to orbit, they are very sure that the satellite is going to work. And this testing is very important, and we can already offer it as a service. So we've received up to €500 million in letters of intent from customers, and we need, we're looking at options to fund this development so we can transform those letters of intent into bankable contracts and move on. So it's not that, they're skeptical. They really believe it because they're technical people. This is a B2B transaction. But I wanted to talk to you as well about the B2C transaction, about sending people, sending human beings, which I'm very passionate about. And I think it's not just for fun. It's not just to say, oh, well, Paris Hilton went up there. No, it's not a frivolous thing. It's a transformative thing. Just like, we have reservations in Africa for animals because there has been tourism going there and people are aware of it and they care for it. And the same is true for the world. I mean, if us as humanity if we don't become planetary aware, if we don't become a species that are aware of our own common destiny as a planet, we are doomed. If we keep thinking in a purely nationalistic or family-only way, only us matter, and the rest of the world can go to hell, we will definitely go to hell together. So we need to fix that. And there's several ways to fix that, but the best way to fix this is to travel, is to go around the world. And the most important direction, in my opinion, is up. Because up there, you really see where we come from. So it's more than just a leisure trip. How do we want to do it? Well, with 0 emissions, of course, because it would be a little bit ironic to go up there and say, oh, this is a beautiful Earth, but we just threw a few tons of ozone-depleting chemicals and CO2 out the back of the ship and a large column of black smoke. that would be ironic. Some people think that's the way. We don't think that's the way. We think the way is to do it with absolutely zero emissions. And the solution exists. It's called helium. It's freely available. It comes from the ground. There's tons of it. And you could even do it with hydrogen. But it will be a step maybe farther down the road, because it's not such a big deal that hydrogen is flammable. We drive, in cars that are, flammable as well. Lithium batteries are flammable. We carry them in our pocket. It's not a big deal. But it's really important not just going there, but how you go there. And, you go up there and you come back down with parachutes, like that, with a guided parachute. All the technology exists. We've test-flown half-scale models of this. This is a picture of one of the prototypes that my amazing team put together and flew. So it's just, it's out there. It's possible. And I think, again, not just my company, but in general, European companies are in a position to be the leaders in new space. We think the values of perseverance, of, taking some time, not necessarily having immediate gratification, studying things deeply, the roots, because the early innovations were done here. Those things are extremely important in the development of an industry, and we have them, and the rest of the world doesn't. We have the capital, we have the human capital, we have the regulatory environment. We can do it if we want to, and if we work hard and not just stay complacent with the status quo and just watch the news of what happens over there in America or very soon in China. So thank you very much for your attention, and you can reach me, you can Google my name. I'm looking for partnerships, I'm looking for investment, I'm looking for people that maybe want to come from a different sector and say, oh yeah, this is exciting. I think space, I would like to switch, because that's how you grow. It's by bringing these experts and bringing these other points of view into the industry, and not just, oh, you have to be from my same school, you have to be from my little corner of knowledge, So thank you very much, and I hope that this was enlightening, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you in the conference and online. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jose, for encouraging all of us to push our boundaries. We appreciate it. Thanks.